Hi, everybody. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our second series of BLT Bite Size. If it sounds like a bust, it probably is because I'm outside. But this 30-minute session is all about making the best use of local trust support offer. So we hope even in just half an hour, you'll take away some useful hints and tips, just some housekeeping. We'll be recording this session. You would have seen that just come up. So if you're uncomfortable with showing your face, please turn your camera off. Please also mute yourself and put any questions in the chat. They'll be picked up and bunched together by our chat administrator and put to Helen. We'll try and get the answers for you for any questions we don't have the time to ask. We can probably get them later. An aid memoir will be sent to you after the session, so you'll have no need to take notes today, although you are very welcome to. We presume that you'll know where your own fire exits and toilets are, so we don't need to do that bit. And so, without further ado, can we please introduce Helen Riley, who is currently Local Trust Partnership and Learning Senior Coordinator. I'm a coordinator as well. I do love the sort of long titles. Previously, Helen has worked in a number of community development and engagement roles across London. Most recently, as project manager for W12 Together, a big local partnership in White City. In this session, Helen is here to tell you about Make It Happen, which is a range of support to help us deliver our plans. Also, as you're sort of listening to Helen, if you can think about one thing that you've learned or something that you will take away from the session, and you can share that with us at the end, that would be really useful. So over to you, Helen.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Stephen, and hi, everybody. Yeah, I'm Helen, and I work in the Partnerships and Learning team. And I'm currently covering for Georgie Burr, who's off on maternity leave, who many of you, I'm sure, know. Thank you so much for having me today to have the opportunity to talk about Make It Happen and give you some top tips, but most importantly, to hopefully answer some of your questions and take on board any feedback. And if there's anything that I can't answer, I will take the questions away and ask colleagues to feed in, and we'll follow up with you after today's session. Claire, are you okay to share your screen? Wonderful.
Thanks, Claire, that's got it.
You can flick onto the next slide as well, really quick. We'll move through them quickly. Okay, so I'm just going to give you a bit of a brief overview of what Make It Happen is, give you some top tips, hopefully, for accessing it. But I do really want to hear from you all, and you may well have some top tips and some feedback for us about how you're experiencing it. And then over to you for questions. So what is Make It Happen? Well, it's our response really to the factors that you can see on the slide there. So we wanted our support offer to big local areas to be more tailored. We wanted to relaunch the support offers. So we've been doing a support offer review for, I think, the last 18 months or so. So we've taken all of that feedback and made some changes. We've got some new support opportunities, which I'll go on to say about, and we're changing sort of the structure and the delivery of support offers. So in a nutshell, Make It Happen is the umbrella message that we're using to package up and relaunch our support to big local areas. And that kind of ranges from networking and learning events to bespoke partner support that some of you may have accessed previously over the last few years. And it's also things like our guidance and resources. And it launched in May. On the slide here, hopefully some of this will be familiar to you if you've been on Workplace or visited the website. But importantly, we've changed how we communicate the offers to areas, with the aim being that it's easier to find information that you're looking for, and also easier to navigate. So all of our support offers are now kind of nested under these five key core needs, which are power up your partnership, connect and influence, find your voice, get inclusive, and prepare for the future. And all of the support that we now have is kind of nested underneath those needs. So, for example, Parity Partnership could be getting some support on fundraising, planning or leadership. And within that, there will be support partner, specialist support from experts There will be learning and networking events. There'll be kind of opportunities to come together with other big local areas, so kind of networking. But hopefully with now it all being fitting under these 5 needs, it will just be much easier for big local partnerships to actually find what they're looking for. Next slide, please, Claire. So having reviewed our support, we've developed a few new offers in response to what we've learned, and they launched in May, and I've put the kind of key ones up on the screen. Programme Insight has always dictated kind of the support that we offer to big local areas, but previously it was much more based on kind of topics of interest. So now with so much more knowledge from running the programme for 10 years, we've got a much better understanding of the support that areas might need. So our support is much more focused on the foundations of community-led change, although you will still see some kind of topics of interest in there as well. So we've got new community engagement and volunteer management support. We're working with locality if you want to help setting up as a legal body or securing a community asset. We're working with three freelancers who are communications professionals to help you master your comms. And also we're working with the Centre for Sustainable Energy, supporting big local areas that are looking to climate proof their plans. So based on kind of lots of feedback we've got over the last few years, we've now got a range of partners that are based up and down the country. And they're, as well as offering the bespoke support, in-area support, they're also now offering learning and networking opportunities and training sessions. And whereas we had those previously, they were often kind of facilitated and delivered by different people or different organizations. We've tried to align them more and bring them under the same partner, just so that it's more joined up. So if something comes up, or a topic or a particular need comes up through the learning and networking, then we can build that into our bespoke support partner and vice versa. Later on this summer, we are still developing offers as well. So later on this summer, there'll be fundraising support coming online. And also we're looking to develop a range of support around equality, diversity, inclusion. Next slide, please, Claire. And I just thought it's important to kind of show what the continuing support that we're still offering as well. So we've got the range up here, so measuring change, street games, so that's about empowering young people through community sport programs. We're still doing Keep Connected, which is the continuation of the COVID conversations that we were doing in lockdown, and they happen monthly online. And then obviously Connects is happening in September. So if you are interested in coming along, please do sign up. And there are still things like regional clusters and Chairs Network and the Community Leadership Academy as well. Next slide, please. Okay, so for this presentation and for today, I was asked to think about some top tips for accessing our support. So I've got a range on here. So the first one is really to do the prep work, and Local Trust website is a great place to start. And I would suggest familiarising yourself with all the support offers that we've got, and think about how they could help you in delivering your plan and projects that you're working on. But if you still are unsure, or you want a bit more information, then please do get in touch with us for a chat, and we're here to help answer any questions that you might have, or to kind of talk through really all of the different offers and what might be most suitable. Number 3 is be clear about your priorities and what you want from the support. So will it help with legacy? Are you thinking about taking on a community hub? And there is time to explore this with the support partners if it is bespoke support that's required. But we do advise that partnerships think about this together and chat this through before they kind of access the support. In terms of the bespoke support, one of the big changes we've made is it used to be match funded. So there was a very short period of time, stage 1, up to 3 days, that Local Trust funded. And then if you wanted to continue with a partner, it was match funded. And we know that that was very complicated and it was a barrier to getting in touch and accessing it. So we've actually scrapped match funding. And there's now up to a maximum of 10-day support available per support partner. That really depends on what it is that you want support for, the project, and how those days and that support will be used will be worked out in the beginning, in the first couple of sessions between the support partner and the partnership, to find out what it is you want out of the support and how best to use the time. So yeah, just I guess, again, with the prep work, it's really useful, and I'd advise making sure that you're ready to go to make the most out of it. Then I'd also say join Workplace if you haven't already, which is, as I'm sure most of you know, is our online networking space, and also sign up to our Make It Happen newsletter. We've given Workplace a really big refresh, so there is content on there that probably will only go on Workplace. So I would suggest joining it and having a look and exploring it. And our support partners are also on it now and are there to answer any questions and share resources and information. It's also where you'll find out about the kind of learning and networking events that we've got, but also that BLT are putting on offer as well. So if you haven't already, do sign up to Workplace. Next slide, please, Claire. And I check out our events calendar. That's a new feature on the website. It's got all of the learning and networking available on there. Mainly check it out so you don't miss out on things that are coming up, but also we've got some events that might give you a taster to some of the other support that we're doing, or some of them are really geared around early support. So kind of having conversations, particularly around which legal body might make the most sense for you, if that's what you're thinking of for your legacy. So we've got some sessions that are particularly focused on that, so that if you then decide to go ahead, you can get the most out of the bespoke up to 10 days support. We've also got some training sessions that are CPD accredited. So there is sort of lots going on there, but it is quite busy. But keep an eye on the events calendar and the Make It Happen newsletter, because any kind of new things coming on or updates will go out through those channels. I'd say definitely nominate a key contact from your partnership to lead on the support, particularly with the support partners, but also to agree together how you want to be kept up to date and the best way for the partnership to be kept informed, whether that's they come back to partnership meetings or whether you think it would be useful to maybe put together a subgroup. But that key contact is really important for accessing and making the most out of the support. We would also advise right at the beginning, thinking about what happens at the end of the support, what's next, and to talk this through at the start. And the partners can help with this. It's almost like there is up to 10 days, but what happens after that? Did you achieve what you wanted to out of the support? And if not, what's next? And that might be that you want to access further support that would have to be funded through your big local grants, or it might be linking you up with suitable networks or other areas potentially that have done a similar project. But it's sort of thinking about with your partnership and the partner at the beginning, what is it you want out of it and what happens at the end? Be honest and realistic about how much time the partnership can give and set achievable kind of targets and timescales. It takes quite a lot to engage in some of the support, whether that's checking all of the events or actually being that lead contact with a support partner. So I guess it's just have a really open and honest conversation at the beginning of how much time can we give to this particular project or support offer. The other one is get in touch with plenty of time. So this is because we might have a waiting list if the offers are particularly popular. And an example of this is the new assets and legal body support does currently have 20 areas that are taking part in it, and there are 5 more in discussion. So if it's a popular offer, we might have a bit of a waiting list. It's not that we'll say no, but it might be that we have to say it's not the right time, but we'll come back to you in a few months. I think linked to this as well is that it is up to 10 days per partner. So there you can access a couple of different support offers, but it's about thinking around what's most suitable for your partnership at this time, what makes most sense to access first, And then once you're in that support offer or you're doing that support, it may be that we can bring in other, like, for example, if you're doing a community hub and you realize we want to really promote this, then it could be that we could bring in the communications partner to support with that delivery. But yeah, get in touch with plenty of time. It always takes longer than you think, and they are getting really popular. And I snuck in an 11th one, and it's just really that we really welcome your feedback. We want to hear what you think, if it's working, any challenges that you're happening, anything that's going particularly well. But if we get that feedback, then we can build in review points and we can make some of those changes where it needs to happen. So yeah, we really, really value your feedback. This slide is just, and I can share this, we can share this at the end, but it's just the key, I guess, access points and contact points for finding out more about the support offer. So the events calendar, workplace, and the Make It Happen newsletter. And importantly is get in touch with us at support@local trust. And then over to you all for questions. Thanks, Claire.
Absolutely fantastic. Thanks so much, Helen. That was really useful. I even learned some new things myself. I didn't realise about the event calendar on the website. I'll definitely be checking that out. So I'm just having a look at the questions as I sort of flick over on my phone. I'll go from the top. 10 days from Bill, 10 days of support is great, but we might need much more input. Will we need to pay for this? I think probably the answer is fairly clear, but I'll throw it over to you, Helen.
Yes, yeah, it is. As you say, 10 days is great, and but it can only go so far. And depending on your project or your plan or what it is that you're requiring the support for, by having those chats at the beginning and being really kind of clear with the support partner and us what it is you're hoping to achieve from it, it might be that at the end of it, you do need to pay for some extra support out of your big local grant.
I guess that goes back to that thing Helen you were saying about before, which is basically being very clear at the beginning about what you're looking to achieve, and then ultimately that probably come out earlier rather than later.
Yeah, and I touched on this a bit, but it might be depending on what the original support partner is that you bring in. We're working with the big local area at the moment who are doing a community hub, but they've identified that they would like some communication support as part of that. And we can then bring in the communication support partner to offer that specialist support for an extra couple of days linked to that kind of overall community hub. So, and it is, I do get asked this quite a lot, and we are thinking of kind of clearing this up on our website, but it's up to 10 days per support partner. It's not sort of 10 days.
In total.
Yeah, in total, thank you.
You could have lots of days.
You can. And I guess sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Helen. No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, and I got asked a question at the Keep Connected recently, what if we want all of them? And I think that having that conversation with your partnership and also partnerships and learning team to try and kind of figure out right at the beginning what's most suitable now, because it is a lot for volunteers and for people to get involved and to take it on and engage in the support. So I guess that comes back to my point about it being like really think about how much you can put in and what's most suitable at the moment. They're not going anywhere. It just there'd be something that's appropriate now, and we can bring in others later on.
No, I think that's a great point to raise. I know I always like a freebie. If anyone rings me up and sort of offers me something, I always say yes. But I think you, as you said, you need to be realistic around the time that you have, because to do it properly takes a lot of time. So that's really good. On the communication support, just before I go to the next question, I'm sure people will be interested to know, what does that actually look like in the sense of, what is the scale of it? Does it sort of cover social media? Is it sort of web? Is it marketing? Is it branding? Or is it all of those?
To be honest, it's probably all of it. And if we're working with 3 support partners on that. So 3 different consultants who offer a range of kind of support. So things like, one of them is a local journalist, and she is really great on the media side of it. So that could, and your digital comms, live streaming, podcasts. So we've kind of got media and digital communications covered. But it could also be, do we need to have a bit of a comm strategy for your big local area for that particular project? So working through some of that planning as well. And then if it's things like website branding, we can look to bring in kind of specialists to offer that kind of particular support if it's around building a website, or so it is a real range of topics and a support that they can cover. And if they can't do it, we do have access to other experts as well that we could potentially bring in.
Sounds fantastic. Just going on to another question, this is from James, and he was asking, why don't the support offers go hand in hand with plan assessments and approval?
That is a very good question. And I think it's worth me saying that one of the big things that we've changed internally at Local Trust is how we work together with other departments and other colleagues. So we've recently brought in, I guess, a buddying system where every area has their funding lead, their area support lead, but they now also have a partnerships and learning lead as well from the team. So when we meet regularly to discuss kind of if supports come in, how best to support, what would be most suitable at the time, but also we're trying to bring into that things like plan reviews as well, and kind of just being much more aligned internally with Local Trust about how we work together. So I met with a colleague recently around like plan reviews and potentially if any support comes up through plan assessments as well, and to flag that with us. And the next step would be is that gets flagged with us, and then somebody from my team would then reach out to the area and say, would this is support we've got on offer, would that be helpful? Would you like to have a chat about it? Also, if an area gets in touch with us via the email or the telephone, if they're like, we definitely want community engagement support, then that would come through to my colleague Layla in Partnerships and Learning, and we'd reach out directly. If somebody gets in touch and says, like, we need support, but we're not sure where to start or which one's most suitable, it'll come through to their Partnership and Learning area lead, and we'll have that chat and then liaise with colleagues to find out kind of what would be most suitable. And we would be taking into account going forward things like reviews and assessments. But it's a really good point and really great feedback, and I'll definitely take that back to colleagues.
No, it sounds fantastic. I think it sounds like you're sort of starting to develop a much more robust system, but it is a bit of a change, and I guess with change, it's always difficult if people sort of aren't tuned in. So I think, sort of the points you're making about people getting in contact with you, all very valid. It's just some fantastic support out there. So I'm going to badge these questions together because they're about the reps. So I'll sort of go the first one. This is from Ralph, and he's saying some of the reps are saying, where do they fit into the new structure? And one from Bob, he's saying, how long have we got our wonderful reps for? So over to you, Helen, if you can answer those.
Yeah. So in terms of how long you have your wonderful reps for, I am not the best person to answer that question, but I can take that away and talk to Jane and Whistle in area support to come back to you. I don't want to give you an answer, reply and give you an answer that's not right. So let me take that away and I'll get somebody to get back in touch with you, Bob. In terms of the new structure of support, I think it's important for me to say that the changes that we're trying to bring in, make it happen, is around being able to provide areas with more bespoke, tailored support. So that could be, we will be linking up with the new area coordinators that they have at Local Trust, and also with the new big local advisor role. And we're trying to get better of kind of what I talked about, being aligned and having leads within the various teams that meet up on a regular basis to kind of get an understanding of what support's already in place with an area and how best can we kind of take new support forward depending on what's already going on. So the rep role and the new kind of rep role going forward is very much a part of this. But in terms of the detail around how long you'll have reps for, I can't answer that, I'm afraid, but I will take that away and come back and feedback on that.
Cool. This is just a couple of observations. James has said, fantastic, the 10 days per partner is important. I misunderstood, thought it was 10 days in total, so that's brilliant. And Kim was asking, will this be shared? We can share with our group for them to do? Yes, it will be shared, and we'll sort of stick it on YouTube. So let's answer that one. Really good question here from Brenda. She's asking, will the support be face-to-face or online?
That is completely up to your big local. So we have asked, in terms of bespoke support, we've asked support partners to do whatever works for the area. So that could be face-to-face in person, or or a mixture of both. So really that we can be really flexible. And one of the things that we wanted to do was try and have support partners kind of better placed geographically, and we hope we have achieved that. So get in touch if you're interested in support, and that can be a conversation, but we want it to be online, flexible, or face-to-face, depending on what works for your partnership and how you're running at the moment as well. I know, for example, for the locality support, a couple of areas have really valued their locality advisor coming along to meetings, being local, being in their area. So that's absolutely fine. So we can definitely pick that up, and we want it to suit the partnership. Yeah, have I answered that question?
That's brilliant. That's actually perfect. I know we've got about 2 or 3 minutes, maybe a minute tagged on to a little slow getting the slides up, but I'll go to the next question. If the LTO this is a good one. If the LTO is the legacy organisation, can it access the support?
So my short answer to that is, I think so, yes. So if you get in touch and say, we want some locality support to do with our legacy organisation, and that's your LTO, then yes, because we want to be able to support big locals kind of with their plans for beyond 2026. Yeah, that's the short answer to it. When you get in touch, Alice, my colleague Alice, is the expert on the assets and legal body support, so she'll be able to kind of answer all of those kind of detailed questions. But yeah, we want to support big locals and their legacy bodies, organisations, whatever that is.
I guess that kind of makes sense, because you've got some big local areas where they've formed their own LTOs. And also there are a lot of big local areas forming legacy organisations to sort of continue some of the good work they're doing. So that's brilliant. Thanks so much for clearing that up, Helen. Just a couple more questions. Here's one from James, and he says, how do you see BLT, big locals together, and make it happen working together? Could BLT be commissioned to provide some of the support and networking?
That's a really good question. And I guess if we have some support offers coming up that we're going to be putting ITTs out, putting briefs out for, then I guess that's a really interesting question, and whether that would be suitable, appropriate for BLT to kind of apply or get in touch about those. So I don't want to say no, and I think it would be as we've got support needs and more support offers emerging, then we should definitely have that conversation. I can take that back to James. I think we really want to make it happen, and BLT really working together. And I know that our comms person, Beth, internally, I think is keen to come along to an upcoming meeting that you've got to talk about kind of how we local trust and comms can support you. What can we do together? How can we be more joined up in terms of communication and promoting it as well? So I think there are definitely opportunities to come together. I think what BLT is doing is really exciting, and Partnerships and Learning and Local Trust in general want to support you. And I think that what you bring is many other things, but you bring that context to it as well, and that kind of experience and what it's like being a big local area, what it means on the ground, which local trust can't bring, we don't have that context, that contextual experience. So I think we definitely want to work together. And if you feel that something that we're putting out on an ITT would be relevant to BLT, then I think we'd be open to those conversations, depending on what it is and kind of how you're working as well, because I know you're looking at options and what BLT will be going forward. So I think we'd definitely keep that open. I think
it's fantastic. I think it goes back to that thing about being honest and all those sort of things that everyone's sort of busy with work as well and other stuff. So but yeah, I think sort of that could really help, especially sort of when you were talking about the geographical closeness, that some areas share quite similarities and things that they're doing. So yeah, it's great that you can potentially sort of add to the offer support already available. Listen, we're sort of coming to the end, but a great one for Brenda. Brenda said she's already been contacted by Alice. The response to her request was very quick. And just a final question from Bill. He says, can you give some examples of where this support might be working really well, which might be a little bit early because obviously Make It Happen has only sort of started happening, but is there anything you can share with us, Helen?
I
Any examples?
I guess a really good example of where it's working, but we knew that there was a real need for support around becoming a legal body and taking on an asset. That's so complex, and just having an advisor that you can talk that through with. So having 20 areas when we've only been launched for a few months is working really well. So that's proven very popular. I'd also say on the climate proofing your action plan, I think that one, they're working, I think, with 8 areas at the moment. And that is really looking at your plan, looking at what you've already got, and how can you kind of bring in some climate action within that. And I think that the team that are working as a support partner on that are doing a number of different things. So for some areas, they're just really acting as a critical friend, a touch point, a sounding board. So they can be kind of brought in, asked advice, and I think that's working really well. And with other areas, they are kind of creating really detailed plans around a particular project that an area is working on in their area around climate or greening. So I think that's working very well, and I think the flexibility of what the area needs, so not everybody support, just need that advice. And I think what we're trying to get from the support is that flexibility and really tailored support. The other one is community engagement, and an area that we've got on that. So that's with WSA Community Consultants, and they've got quite a big team there. So really where it's working very well is kind of a new partnership and giving some extra training and support around community engagement and development techniques. They've also got the accredited training. So I think some partnership members are finding that really useful. And I think in terms of helping to strengthen partnerships, so reaching out to the wider community, potentially getting more partnership members involved, helping around some of that volunteer management. I think that areas are finding that very useful at the moment as well.
Absolutely brilliant. And listen, we're just a little bit over time, but I think it's been absolutely fantastic and really interesting. Thank you so much, Helen, for sort of coming along and sort of sharing all the fantastic tidbits of information. I'm sure there'll be. But also we asked at the beginning, what's one thing you've learned or something that you take away from the session? So if you're happy to put that in the chat before you shoot off, that's absolutely fantastic. Thank you again to Helen, and thank you to all of you for sort of joining us. It's got cheered up a little bit here. I thought it was going to rain, but it's okay now, so I'm all right. But we look forward to seeing you at the next session. So keep your eyes peeled. They're all ready to go up. So there'll be another one very soon. I'm sure someone will come in and correct me. So as to the exact date and time. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.